Hey, remember Garth Tander, winner of the Bathurst 1000, brought to you by Super Cheap Auto in 2009? No? Okay, remember the Black Summer bushfires though? Still no. Geez, I guess the mass brain rot caused by the rapid onslaught of short-form videos over the last 3 years really did take its toll, eh? But if mass amnesia is what it takes to keep up to date with this Turkish gentleman, it's a price I'm willing to pay. What is it with the world and getting momentarily obsessed with one specific fat ethnic man dancing? What was I talking about again? I can't even remember. All I can remember is that guy's stomach. It's a hypnosis swirl. I just really feel like voting for Erdogan. I'd like to think that most of us have blocked out the events of the summer of 2019-2020 because of just how fucked they were, but let's be honest, it's probably just because there's very little difference between us and rabbits. Now is the only time that exists. So since this summer will be the first since 2020 with a risk of a large fire season, allow me to cast your mind back to just how apocalyptic 2020 was. Sydney all of a sudden becoming the smoking area of an RSL, which made it especially ironic when you did try and light one up in the dining area of said RSL. Hey! Come on, this rule's pointless at the best of times. Look at the cafeteria lady. She's smoking. Smoking hot! And because he told a mad joke, he was allowed to pump one in the bistro. The Black Summer bushfires saw 24 million hectares of bushland burned. To put that in perspective, that's like if all of Turkey was like, ooh, someone wanna turn down the heat on this turkey, huh? Huh? It'd have its pluses though. How happy would this guy be if all of Turkey was served to him on a kebab plate? Look at him! Go man, go! Anyway, where was... Oh, that's right, horror. 1,600 native animal species had at least half of their range incinerated. An estimated 3 billion animals were killed or displaced. 2,100 homes were burned, hundreds dead. Even rainforests, unburned for tens of thousands of years, which remember, the coalition wanted to make very clear had absolutely nothing to do with climate change. And they were right on that too, because it wasn't to do with climate change, it was to do with their horrific land clearing policies, drying these areas out. So you do have to hand it to them. Meteors were nowhere near as damaging as cloudy with a chance of meatballs. How's that? What climate change was responsible for was the bushfire season expanding from the 1st of July until the 31st of March. So really, Black Summer is a misnomer. It was more like Black Year with a teacher's holiday break. The only silver lining to that very dark cloud being that we did get endless supplies of videos of ScoMo getting wrecked by the general public.
Tell the Prime Minister to go and get from Nelligan. We really enjoy doing this.
Stemming from him, I swear to God this will be known by future generations as this nation's iconic photo. You know how Germany has the wall, America has the moon? We're gonna have...
Hey, Mr. Prime Minister! Andy!
Except the lake he's yelling across is the Pacific Ocean. I suppose another silver lining to the bushfire damage was that it wasn't exactly like the Americans killing Bin Laden, was it? It wasn't this overnight precision thing. We'd known that this event was coming for years. It literally lasted fucking years. And so we got to see the quote-unquote adult party's response to a disaster in full force. The Liberal Party's planning phase was, how's this? Nothing. Actually, that's unfair. They cut money from emergency service on a state level. So they're good sports. They're giving us a handicap against nature. Well played. This is despite nearly 24 experts begging to meet with the government to warn them of the impending catastrophe. ScoMo kept his cool though. We really need some more aerial water bombers. No fire chiefs, I've got a meeting with Flight Centre, fuck off! Then after years of no prep, just winging an apocalypse apparently, when it finally did come to showtime, extended season. There was the warm-up act of the drought beforehand where the Liberals finally kicked into gear and realised, what a damn shame that we didn't recognise that this is a perfect opportunity to pork barrel sooner. I swear if you looked at the Liberals' mental concept of the federal budget, the pie chart would be 70% it's my personal re-election campaign, 30% it's Biden's re-election campaign. In the record-breaking drought, leading up to the record-breaking fire season, so this is prep time, they knew something worse was coming. The Liberals took that opportunity to set up a drought relief fund, and it used to hand out $1 million checks to local councils that, how's this, weren't in drought. Drought relief going to precincts that weren't in drought. Entire states got no funding at all. Heavily drought affected areas, not a cent. Why? Because the drought, unfortunately, was in Labor held seats. You see why they didn't qualify? How third world patronage system is that? Every day you are just waiting for Barnaby to get up on Sky. Or this one, remember this shit? Let's set up a drought education fund, which went to those suffering the most in droughts. Expensive private schools. Lots of budding SES workers under those Venetian rower hats. Seriously, what the fuck would they ever need to know about a drought? Yeah, so just as a reminder, you can't use sprinklers, okay? Oh wait, we're not in a drought affected area. Yes, you can. So how long's this gonna go for? I've got golf with the Governor General at 4. Oh yeah, sorry, go. Just watch out for the lake on the 3rd hole. It's a very big lake of water. You know, the other day I realised for the first time while walking around, this is really strange. I'm not constantly pissed off all the time. And going through this again, I now realise it's because we had a government that for 10 years did fuck shit like that, and yet everyone in the country, what did they care about? Fucking Novak Djokovic! A government who did everything they could to exacerbate disasters, and then when they hit, didn't give a shit unless they could use it as some large-scale wealth redistribution program to a bunch of pin-dicks in ties and shorts. There's so many examples. The reason that I'm highlighting these two, though, is because every time you ever pointed this out, there was always the grandma saying, well, it'd be worse under Labor. Would it? Because you know what Labor wanted to do as preparation? This was before the bushfires hit, mind you. Same time span around the drought relief funds. They wanted to spend around the same amount of money on expanding the National Aerial Firefighting Centre's coordination and management capacity so they could respond to bushfires quicker and more effectively. About the same amount of money that the Liberals spent on bribes and drought-proofing Kambala's fucking tennis courts. So it really does put their usual argument in perspective of how you gonna pay for it? And on loan Van Gogh paintings in the Askham girls' toilets. Government's all about making tough choices! Speaking of tough choices, don't forget about friend to the channel and koalas, Gladys the bin chick and Berejiklian girl boss extraordinaire herself, making some tough decisions of her own, cutting $121 million from national parks, and just for good measure, another $80 million before the bushfires hit, so they couldn't hazard reduction burn. That was the New South Wales Coalition's prep, gathering as much kindling as they possibly could for the big day, and then of course, like all good governments, stared down special lobby groups like the fat cats at Big Fire, telling them, hey RFS, my boyfriend wants tens of millions of dollars in public money so he can get re-elected and then sell the power of his office to the highest bidder, which inevitably is going to be a couple of shonky developers. I'm cutting your capital expenditure budget by 75% and the fire and rescue services by 35%. Could you imagine how much the ABC would be bitching on their cringy programs no one watches if their budget was cut by 35 or even better 75%? It'd just be a constant, oh my god, this show's still very overstaffed. Because the ABC, just as a reminder, the source of news you can trust, their response was to make Labor out like a pack of lies for pointing out massive cuts to emergency services. So anyway, the Liberals are the careful bean counters they purport to be. It's just that they make sure that every fucking cent of yours goes towards programs that support them instead of you. I could go on all day talking about the appalling actions of this cohort of obvious former high school social pariahs. I mean, case in point, Superwoman doesn't need a date to pick her up to the formal. She can fly. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to do the most un-Australian thing ever. I'm going to have to stop whinging and even worse, do something constructive for once by, showing you how much worse it gets under Labor. Get the dark, foreboding, smoky atmosphere going because, as the Coalition knows, where there's smoke, there's budget cuts to be had. Since the Black Summer bushfires, a Royal Commission into Disaster Preparedness provided 80 recommendations that the government needs to address, which the Liberals, staying true to their form, ignored. I swear Scott Morrison's re-election poster should have just been this. They had 2 years to do something, anything. Nah, not their style. Labor's in for a year and a half, already implemented most of them, currently implementing more. The big ticket in them is setting up the National Emergency Management Agency, or NEMA, which was previously multiple agencies, so the government has all its resources pulled into one mega agency, so it has a far better resourced response. And there's none of that weird chain of command confusion of like, do you coordinate rescues? I thought you did, we dispatched them. Who coordinates them? I don't know, coordinate sounds like a Royal Dance Academy thing, isn't it? You know what more resourceful means? It means that by June next year, NEMA will be able to deploy emergency shelters, water desal purification systems, generators, food supplies. Jeez, who's the head of NEMA? Jim Baker? God,
God, that's good.
Nima and this man share a lot in common. They're prepped as fuck. This could all be sent to a flood zone, bushfire zones, 24 hours. If I was a Christian, I wouldn't even be worried about Armageddon anymore. Four horsemen of the apocalypse, eh? Mint, you gave the okay to Carl Brumbies again, did ya? Oh, I reckon we can pick him off our boat. So let's just stop and really appreciate for a second that this is basically the same idea Dutton had of pooling government resources together to create the Department of Home Affairs. It's just that when Labor pools government resources together, it uses them to deal with national emergencies. The Liberals pool government resources together to spy on you. In fact, Labor goes further. They use the spying that goes down in the Department of Home Affairs to spy on the weather instead of you. Look, son, if you've got nothing to fry, you've got nothing to fear.
Is it just me or did it get hot in here? This solar system's secure, right?
This is a level of preparedness we've never had. Not even close. This is getting to the point that responding is basically becoming a button on the Prime Minister's desk, like you calling a cab at a hotel. And the sad thing is we could have very easily had all of that preparedness in 2020, were it not for this one fundamental philosophical difference between the two major parties, which is that Labor actually listens to the experts. As such, they're creating scaled-down climate models that are able to predict changes in bushfire and flood risks on a suburb level instead of just looking at global climate trend models and thinking, well, it's raining in Bosnia today, I guess we'll put that up as a flood warning, and oh no, it was a bushfire day. Well, that's a shame. We should just go back to the old model. That was right 50% of the time. If you have very specific information, you can deploy resources to where they're actually needed with pinpoint precision, and this world-changing, vitally important technology, I think we can safely assume, certainly would not be developed under a Liberal government. As well as, just a point of comparison, spending on aerial firefighting has doubled, and we have more aircraft than ever ready to go. Now, this is all to say that no matter how prepared you are, this is Australia. It is highly flammable. I mean, just so our foreign audience knows, our forests are trees that are designed for dry weather, and for whatever reason, they're pumped with oil. Whose idea was that? The whole "this season is going to be bad for bushfires" talk, by the time this is edited, my office might have burned down as well as my house. There's no stopping that. No matter who's in government, it's gonna be bad. But don't you feel far more secure under Lispy than Tipsy? We'll see how this video ages. In the era of climate change, though, government competency is no longer just a nice option. Government competency is now literally a matter of life and death. The sheer stupidity, callousness, and appalling self-serving instincts that were lamentably on full display by both state and federal coalition governments during the devastation of Black Summer. That should be all the proof you need that they're not only unfit to govern, they should be classified as a natural disaster in their own right. Their little logo right next to the earthquake button in SimCity. All I'm saying is that classic political ad trope is no longer hyperbole.
Re-electing the Liberals would be a disaster.
Anyway, press the like button, make sure that you subscribe for more videos of someone saying, remember that defunct Prime Minister said that he doesn't hold a hose? Is he like admitting that he has a pindick, bro? Anyway, I've got live shows across the country. Here they are. I'm going all up and down the coast, just like the fires. I'll see you there.